2 weeks, really. 2 weeks, but. Already? No. No.
Okay, let's get started.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call to order the April 24th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Epequit, Prince Edward Island, Mi'kma'ki, is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. All right, before we have a motion for approval of the agenda, we're going to remove item 6.3 until a future date. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, by John and seconded by Yvette. Anybody, any comments, questions? Okay, all in approval, all in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Okay. Next, disclosure of conflict of interest. Does anybody have anything on tonight's agenda that you're in conflict with? Hearing none, we'll move on. I need a motion for the adoption of the March 27th, 2025 Planning Board meeting minutes. So moved by Louis, second by Sean. Any errors, omissions, comments about the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of that? Okay. All right, we will move on to the, item number 5. So Planning Board values your input. Registered speakers are allotted 5 minutes to present their views. During the presentation, Planning Board members will not engage in dialogue or debate, but may ask questions afterwards. To ensure a productive and respectful discussion, speakers are encouraged to maintain a professional tone, avoid personal attacks, and focus on matters within the jurisdiction of municipal government. While a speaker is presenting, all others in attendance must remain quiet and seated to allow the speaker to be heard clearly. And just before we start, just to say that we're not running that clock tonight, so Deandra's going to time the 5 minutes because that clock is not available tonight. Okay, so first speaker is Janice Macbeth. Welcome to the podium.
Good evening, Janice Macbeth, Victoria Cross. I'm here tonight actually to speak on the agenda item that you just took off the agenda. So I'm going to speak to that first. I wanted to confirm, I took some photos off GeoLink and then off, so I could see exactly the property you're looking at doing the 40 unit building. And I believe it's going in this little red square here, is that correct? A multi-use corner of a property. This is the property here, the little one. It's the property is listed 199026. And then the rest of that same property is an R1 in yellow. Okay, I'll assume I'm correct in that. I wanted to speak to you tonight about the development permit as presented, and I am concerned about how it was presented. If you take a look at this diagram here, this section of Lot 2, which is the section that's going to be developed, it's a 40, I believe it's a 40 unit building. This section here, folks, is actually listed on the deed property as a contaminated area. There is restrictions on this site until November 30th, 2093. The reason for those restrictions is because there's an agreement with Shell that says that the property cannot be disturbed because of the potential for petroleum hydrocarbons to contaminate the surrounding area and Gibson's Creek. That's very important to make note of because, and I'm sure if the developer was here tonight, he could explain to me that this is probably not in the section that's going to be developed. But right here is Gibson's Creek. And, you know, the water's running pretty good there. We took a walk through. It's running, you know, from McDonald's, the parking lot at McDonald's, in and over. And as you all know, we've all been around a long time. We know that there's been issues with this area. So in your developmental bylaw, it does specifically say, like in the permit that's written, to me, it's just very vague. You know, it talks about landscaping refuse, you know, which we could probably just use the appropriate term, you know, waste watch, or whatever, parking and drainage works. But your developmental officer still has a requirement, we're still under the March 2023 bylaw, you know, to include measured surveys, drainage, erosion control, detailed written descriptions, reports, assessments, the stormwater drainage pattern, and the stormwater management plan. That's pretty vague. The only two items you actually hit there was drainage works and refuse. So I guess before I come back the next time, a couple things I just want to make sure of, that this is actually the property you're developing on, that there are going to be restrictions in place to keep that contaminated area contained. I think it should be right in the development that you've all done your due diligence to protect the water and to protect the wells in the Brudenell area. You also have a requirement under your the official plan. It's page 50, and it's where the town of Three Rivers recognizes the importance of protecting water, and any building must be within 15 meters of a water body or a wetland, unless permission is granted under the Environmental Protection Act. So I really feel like, as a person in the public that's concerned about our waterways, contamination of wells, and good development, there's some things missing. Am I telling everybody something that you already know? Oh, you already know that. Is that why it's taken off the agenda?
Janice, you finish your presentation, and we'll engage when you're finished.
Okay, so I guess I'll just go back and I'll just read you some of the things here. Actually, no, I won't. You already know it. I don't need to waste anybody's time. But I really do got to say, it seems like this was put on the agenda really preemptively without the homework being done on this property. And I have one other question. So those are my thoughts on that property and the development, the 40 unit that you're going to put there. And I also feel it's way too big for the corner. There's too much traffic. And if you put a set of lights in there, it's going to clog up everything from the mall to Brudenell. That's all I have to say on that. I have one more question. Why is there a special use permit for the application on 19 Wood Islands Road? I thought that was already permitted, although I feel like it shouldn't have been permitted because I think that was a panhandle lot in the first place. So could you tell me about the special use permit on 19 Wood Islands Road? And I'd also like any other comments on the 40 unit property. Thank you.
Okay, the reason it's a special use permit on Wood Islands Road is because my understanding that's an R3, and this is not an R3 building, and so it has to go through planning board. We have already approved it. We're looking at it again tonight because the siting of the building has been moved 8 meters to the west, and so it needs to come before planning board again. But it's the same project that the same development that we have already approved.
So this is an accessory building, right?
No, this is
But it's an accessory building it's an accessory dwelling to an existing dwelling on the same parcel number, right?
no, it is a new build with an accessory dwelling.
With an accessory dwelling, right? On the same PID?
Yes.
Okay, so the front house is for sale. How does that work?
Separate issue. This is a separate lot. This is a separate issue.
Oh, so they're selling the house with that separate lot too? Both the lots are being sold together?
This piece that this person is developing, is asking for development on, is separate from the piece, it's already a separate PID, and it is separate from the piece that is for sale.
Oh, okay. And so why does it need a special use permit? What's it going to be used for? I gotta get back to this though first.
I can answer that, and I'll answer that for you. A special use permit is a permit that is required to be put before planning board and council. We don't have desktop authority to deal with that. So yes, you are correct. This development was seen before yourselves earlier in the year. The applicant wanted to move the house westward by about 8 meters, and we still don't have desktop authority to deal with that. So we had to bring that back. So for the most part, you are seeing the same house with the accessory dwelling. We do not have authority to deal with that at desk level, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for that, but how is an accessory dwelling on a different PID? If they're two different property numbers, how is one an accessory dwelling?
The accessory dwelling is within the house.
What?
It's an apartment over the garage.
So the house in the backyard isn't the accessory dwelling? Oh. Because I thought in my questions that I sent in, I thought I had an answer that you couldn't have an accessory dwelling that was habited by people in the questions that I got back from the town. So I'm just kind of confused about that. So, okay, so it was already approved, now you're just moving the house. That's basically the answer on that one? Okay. All right, does anyone have any comments about the 40-unit building? Socially, economically, like any type of?
So we'll discuss the
Observations?
40 unit when it comes before planning board next time.
Okie dokie, thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Blair Sorry, if you'd like to come to the podium. Turn your mic on, please. Excuse me, could you turn your mic on, please? No, you have to.
Press the button to the right.
The right one?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, start again. Name is Blair Sorry. I live in the Robertson Road in Brudenell. I'd like to talk about development 46.25 that was deleted from the agenda tonight. I guess to summarize my concerns, a major apartment complex is being put on what many would call a wetland area that slopes away sharply to a creek, a Gibson's Creek, and a large gully. This is an area that's already heavily congested with traffic, and by the way, the ground is polluted with petroleum hydrocarbons. What could possibly go wrong? This development is going to change the fabric of our neighborhood forever. I realize that housing is a sacred cow right now, and it seems like any sacrifice is not too big to be made for the sake of housing. But I think we have to remember the context here. This is a small town, and I think all you have to do is look at the monstrosity down on Riverside Drive to see the impact that buildings like this can have. This is not a small development, 40 units, 3 buildings, a utility building. And when you talk about the traffic, that doesn't mean that there's going to be 40 cars. There could be 60 cars. It's already, I drive out to the end of this road every day. I already know how congested it is. They're talking about putting a light there. That's not going to solve the problem, especially if you get 50 or 60 more cars coming out onto that intersection and into that corner. There's already a tire shop there, a gas station with a convenience store, a car wash, community mailboxes, a food store, and a transmission shop, and it intersects with the main street in Montague. It's a traffic problem, and it's only going to get worse with this development. In terms of the environmental impact, all you have to do is stand on the street on Robertson Road and look down and see how sharply the land falls away to Gibson's Creek. It's going to take hundreds, if not 1,000 loads of fill to go in there to bring this thing up level in order to develop it properly. I believe that due diligence was not given to this file. I think there should have been a site suitability assessment. There should have been a transportation study. There should have been a land use compatibility study and an environmental impact study. I realize that in this situation with Three Rivers, there seems to be a pattern of approving things and letting the province figure out if the developer complies with the rules. I think that's poor municipal leadership. I think we have to look at this context in context of where we're putting it and the effect that it's going to have upon the neighborhood. And I would like to read, Janice has mentioned it already, I'd like to read the paragraph from this indenture with regard to this deed. It says, during the period commencing on December the 1st, 2018 and ending on November the 30th, 2093, there shall not be constructed or installed in or on the area of the property depicted on the drawing attached hereto as Schedule B, or any part thereof, any potable wells, nor shall there any existing potable wells be used. Petroleum hydrocarbons impacts in the area depicted on the drawing attached hereto as Schedule B shall not be disturbed unless managed in accordance with applicable regulatory requirements, and qualified professionals should be consulted to provide guidance for management actions or controls that may be required to address any remaining impacts. There's no gray area in that statement. It's crystal clear. And as a resident that just lives down the street, I don't want to end up with the smell or the taste of gasoline in my well water. All the rest of the residents on that street, we all have private wells. So again, due diligence needs to be done on this file, because, and when you look at the map, Janice referenced, when you look at the map of this property and where the development is going to take, the petroleum hydrocarbons affect a third of the property that we're talking about, a third. So I think that we need to take a step back and ask ourselves, is this the place for a 40-unit apartment complex? I don't believe so. Something I was wondering about, and it seems strange to me, I hear the question asked time and again by councillors when there's ever a contentious decision to be made, does this put us in a litigious situation? Well, the fact of the matter is that councillors can't be sued. You already have insurance for that. That's a given.
Excuse me, Blair, you've had your 5 minutes, so if you'd like to wrap it up, please.
The 5 minutes is up?
Yeah, if you'd like to wrap it up, that would be great.
Okay. Just
Finish your thought.
that thought is that it's a hard question to understand, because any decision you make, whether for or against, could be a litigious situation. That question, it seems, is more not to inform, but to intimidate other councillors to vote a certain way. That's my thoughts on that matter. It's a question that's silly and shouldn't be asked. Any questions for me?
So again, we're going to deal with this 40-unit when it comes back to planning board, but we will take seriously your comments. So thank you. Would you turn the mic off at the podium, please? Somebody? Thank you. So that's all our registered speakers for this evening. We're going to move on to item 6.1. Okay, this application concerns an application for a major variance of 83.7 for the lot line setbacks, together with a 180-foot boathouse on land at Delory Court, Georgetown, Royalty, PID 688663. The key planning issues associated with this proposal are considered to be the need for a variance in the context of the criteria of the official plan, the criteria for a major variance proposal within the development bylaw, the construction of a boathouse. The applicant's submission demonstrates that the unconventional layout of the subdivision, which is entwined with footpaths, create site-specific challenges justifying the variance. A balance is therefore sought to accommodate substandard lot size, maximum setbacks, the existing access driveway, and the proposed development. The proposal is consistent with the intent of both the official plan and the development bylaws, supporting housing development while maintaining neighborhood character. The proposed major variance is aligned with the town's official plan and development bylaw. It addresses unique site constraints without disrupting the surrounding area's character and enables desirable redevelopment of the property. The proposed major variance is recommended for approval subject to conditions. And the Town of Three Rivers official plan 23 to 2038 provides guidance and criteria for variances in cases of hardship beyond an applicant's control, particularly where compliance with zoning provisions present undue burden. A major variance of 83.7 is therefore requested to allow for the erection of the boathouse. The variance would allow for the boathouse to be erected within the 8 foot of the adjoining lot line and without impacting upon the neighboring properties or the character of the wider area. Planning Board and Development Officer therefore recommends that Planning Board recommend to Mayor and Council to approve the application for a major variance of 83.7% for the lot line setbacks, together with a 180 square foot boathouse on land at Delory Court, Georgetown Royalty, PID 688663. 1, the major variance and development plan will expire within 12 months of the date of approval. And 2, any amendment shall be submitted to the development officer for consideration and approval. 3, the approved documents, the application form received April 14th, 2025. The site plan and boathouse location received April 14th, 2025. And the floor plan and elevations received April 14th, 2025. Could I have a motion to put this on the floor, please? From Louis, a second. Cameron? Okay, discussion. Sean, use your mic.
My question is to staff. When I looked at this, I was concerned of what the setbacks were for here originally. The setbacks seem extreme, that you have to have, when I looked at it, it was the distance, like, I can see in some situations, we've had setbacks of as little as 5 feet. This is 8 feet. Why is this a holdover from a previous plan that we have here? What's the deal?
Excellent. The layout of the subdivision is extremely unusual. We can see that from the pattern of the drawings. The lots are all separated with a network of spaces. I'd hasten to say paths because there's nothing formally organized per se. So what that does is effectively give us a fractured lot. So we've got the house on one side, a footpath, and then we've got the driveway running through this parcel. And this is its own parcel. It's used in association with the parcel opposite, the pathway. And what you end up with is a through lot. So that demands the maximum frontage setbacks. So we're looking at 50 feet on the top and bottom. And then we have the flanking roadway to the side, the flanking path, and that also demands 50 feet. So you end up with I would argue an unfair scenario of 50-50-50, which would effectively leave very little room to comply with the variance as well as not interfere with the driveway passing through that land to the house. So in discussions with the applicant, this effectively provides a little bit of offsetting from those two adjoining boundaries by having the 8-foot setbacks. It's arguable that 50 feet is a hardship arising from a very interesting subdivision layout of its day, but we don't see subdivisions laid out this way anymore. So naturally attracts a major variance, and I think the variance criteria cover this. We've sent the major variance mail shot out. I haven't received any commentary back from anyone as of yet, and we would hear comments come in right up until regular council meeting, if they do. So that's all I have to report on that.
So Lee, basically, in a normal situation, the variance would be, the setback would be 5 feet. So 8 feet doesn't seem untoward in this situation?
It doesn't help the recipe that it's got a flanking yard to it, and it's got the double frontage. As we know, all zones have different variance requirements. We know, for example, mixed use, it's 3.9 feet. In which case this wouldn't have an issue if it was mixed use, but unfortunately that's not the case. So we are working with the variance itself, which would accommodate these odd situations. So certainly more simplified than trying to rezone a single parcel for a boathouse, which is a permitted use on a parcel in this area.
I think you have to take a drive out and have a look at that property to really appreciate what we're dealing with there, because it's scary the way it's set up. So it's certainly understandable where they might have some issues.
The lot is a little anomalous then. Okay.
So I guess so the house that's sitting on the walkway is basically a through lot? So it's 485 and 663 are same owner? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, so this is the applicant's property. Then you have the shared space where there's a bit of encroachment from another building. And then you have the house to the south of that. It's certainly an unusual scenario, and we've looked at it every conceivable way of resolving it. And unfortunately, we're always circling back to the major variance.
Anybody else have anything? So are we ready to move this forward to approve this and move it forward to council? All in favor? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 6.2. And again, as we said earlier, this is the application that we approved earlier. We're just looking to change the siting of the building. So I'm going to find my right page here. So the special permit use application meets the Three Rivers bylaw requirements for a single unit dwelling to be located on PID 194654. The single unit dwelling exists on this road single unit dwellings exist on this road currently and will contribute greatly to the town of Three Rivers housing options. This single unit dwelling should blend in with the existing buildings in the area and not pose a risk to the landscape of the community. The accessory apartment located above the garage will also contribute to the housing needs of Three Rivers while blending into the existing development with minimal impact. The planning technician therefore recommends that planning board recommend to mayor and council to approve the special use permit for a 1,122 square foot single unit dwelling with an attached 612 foot garage with a 512 foot accessory apartment above the garage located at 19 Wood Islands Road, PID 194654. Condition 1, the permit is valid for 12 months from the date of issue. 2, any proposed changes or revisions to the approved plan must be submitted to the development officer for approval. 3, prior to construction and prior to the establishment of a lawn, silt controls in the form of numerous swale bale filters shall be in the drainage routes. Condition 4, the following constitutes the approved plan. The development permit application form received March 27th, 2025. Elevation and floor plans dated October 22nd, 2024. Drainage plan dated March 26th, 2025. And site plan dated March 18th, 2025. Could I have a motion to put this on the floor? From Cameron, and second, Yvette. Okay, discussion. Go ahead.
To staff, any setbacks affected by the, moving this 8 meters one way or another?
The answer to that is no. There's still generous spacing around the dwelling. As we said before, it literally is a change to the siting still within, no variance is required.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, so are we in favor of moving this forward to council for approval? All in favor? Okay, so we'll move that forward. And that comes to the end. Can I have a motion for an adjournment? From Sean, seconded by John, and we are finished. Thank you very much.